there's some homework for you guys. If you are for looking for growth, right, and you have a job, look around and how comfortable are you at the job. If you're really comfortable, it's time to upgrade. It's either time to upgrade within the organization you're working at, or it's time to upgrade to get a completely new skill. Welcome back, lads. Welcome back to another episode here with me and Monish. Today we talk about Plunge into the Cold Water Part 2, and let's just dive right into it. What do you think, Monish? What do you think?
Well, let's just kick it off straight away. You left your job, so you really did plunge into cold water, or maybe warm water. I don't know. Maybe your job was cold water before, and now it's much better.
Yes.
So, how do you feel?
I feel so. Despite that, I did my 4-day fast at the same time. I felt actually very excited, and I'm a type of person who always kind of embraces. Once I jump, I just embrace it, and I don't really think back if this was the right decision or not. For those who don't know what I did, I used to work at a restaurant. Great tips, low hourly wage, but it was a great income for me. And now I'm a certified, or I get my certification in right now, but I'm a personal trainer, which also
Well
very
done.
well. Thank you.
I'll give you a virtual handshake somehow. We'll do a virtual handshake. Where are we going to go? But yeah, no, congratulations. Well done.
I appreciate
Anyway,
it. Yes.
continue.
And the idea was not coming from me. So this is just something I wanted to talk about because this is really something I have not thought about. And I think this is very important to talk about the open-mindedness of trying something new. And I think we talked about this earlier in one of the episodes that we said, okay, just
Yeah, we must have touched base on it. And, to summarize really is don't be scared of trying something new, because change is all around us and it always has to be around us. And if you are afraid of trying something new, it's almost like saying that, you were a baby once and you wore nappies and you only could crawl and you couldn't speak. But trying something new would be now being able to walk and talk and not wear nappies. So we don't want to get stuck in the past. We have to, change. And it's better to force yourself to change rather than let the world change and then you play catch up.
yeah, I agree. And I also, not gonna lie, I felt I'm in the catch up. I'm still kind of in the catch up, but now I take initiative again to get ahead. It takes a lot of effort and time. But talking about the plunge into the cold water part, where I think, okay, why is it a cold plunge? Well, I have no experience in the personal trainer space, so this entire thing is absolutely new to me. Yes, I am. We host the podcast. We want to help people grow and whatnot. Yes, I go to the gym every single day. So I do have some expertise in there maybe as well. But I think I always try to provide value without getting anything in return, or the objective was not to get anything in return. I think this is a better phrase to it. I never tried to make money out of it, which felt good to me. But one of my coworkers at the restaurant, he was becoming a personal trainer. He was like, you have your podcast, you have your, you go to the gym, you explain to me all those the different exercises, what you eat and why you eat those things. And he was just saying, well, why don't you just become a personal trainer? And I was like, I don't know. I don't really care for it that much to become a personal trainer. It's more like a hobby. And well, he makes now some money for me because I joined the company, and that's totally fine. It's just interesting that I took initiative to actually apply and then went through the interview process knowing that I don't want to pursue this for the rest of my life, which is interesting. But I had to question myself, like I had to face one particular question, and that was the restaurant job is not a thing that what I want to do forever either. So which way do you want to go? Do you want something that actually benefits you in the long run, or do you want to benefit something that's not even relatable to anything that you like? Now, I need to say the environment inside the restaurant, I loved it because I love the team. That's just simply what it is. I was very comfortable around my team, and leaving the team behind is, now I can just say I don't really care much because I know I need to focus on myself. If I would have asked myself 10 years ago, I would probably say it was hard to leave. And I was in the same kind of situation 10 years ago when I left the dealership I used to work for about 6 years or 5.5 years. So I know exactly how I would have felt with the old mindset of care too much for other people. So
You're also going outside your comfort zone as well, which probably did make you, a little bit nervous, I guess. But when you did take this plunge, I do have to ask, so did you have the personal training job in place already, or did you have nothing in place
what do you mean?
before you left? So did you like while you were working, did you go for the interview, get the job, and then quit, or did you quit and then go for the interview and get the job?
I got the job first, and once
Yeah.
this was sealed, then I put in my
Then
2 weeks notice. Yeah.
Yeah, so then it was, which is quite short actually. In the UK, generally, it's funny because basically, if you stay with an employer for more than 2 years, they have to give you, I think it is, a week's notice for every single year that you worked for them. I think it's minimum a month, and then on top of that, another week. So it could be like up to, and then there's a cap. I think it's like max 3 months or something. But then for the employee, so the worker,
Yeah.
they can give 1 month's notice at any time.
Yes, that's similar to Germany, and yeah, the same kind of principle applies to Germany as well. So if you quit within the 6 months, you can quit anytime. After
Yeah.
6 months, there's a minimum of 2 weeks, I think, in Germany, and then it goes up for the employee as well as for the employer. But it's not equal, so the employer cannot fire a person the same way how an employee can walk away from a company. Yeah, so there's some differences there,
Yeah,
but it's
which is good in a way because obviously the employee is probably less stable in a way, shall we say, less financially stable, generally speaking, so that if you wanted to give such a short notice to the employee, they may struggle to find a job in that time.
yeah,
But then again, if it's a family business or something, then an employee leaving could put a lot of strain on the company.
yeah.
But generally speaking, yeah. But anyway, so you gave your notice in your 2 week notice, and I bet you were just counting down the days. But I mean, you said you enjoyed it and you enjoyed the team, and I think that's a huge part of it. And I always thought, in my job, that always thought to myself, well, you could have a job that was your absolute, you absolutely loved it. It was your passion, and you're working in what you're passionate about. But if your boss is a prick, you're not going to like the job. And on the contrary, if there's something that you don't particularly like, but then the team around you is okay, and you get along with the people and your boss is okay, then actually that job is bearable.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree to a certain extent, but I also need to say that I am always okay with the job I do. I'm a very adaptive personality in terms of this like in that aspect. I haven't had any bad jobs that I absolutely hated. And probably the reason for it is because I always try to look for something that I can learn and take away from and just double down on it. So I had very different jobs, and so this job is a restaurant job. So what can I possibly learn from a restaurant job, right? Um,
There's a lot you can learn from a restaurant job.
yeah, but I always only pick one thing, and then I try to see what could be done differently to make it more efficient or like better. And so this is the key of this. So in the restaurant industry or like hospitality, it's all about efficient systems. And I think we have something, we have something planned for creating systems, I think, in the upcoming episodes. But in general, if you create systems and they're inefficient, or you have a person who does not want to apply those systems, your restaurant, the entire operation becomes very inefficient, which then just means the company loses money, which then also means the boss is being angry, which then means it just tickles down. And you also see, because the restaurant I worked for, it was a startup, so it was brand new when I joined them, and I saw how important it is to have valuable relationships with your employees or with the entire team per se. And this is what I like picked out from this experience. So one was, you need to create a system, and you need to listen and watch the people who are needing to apply those systems. Even if it's not you, you need to see and check those systems if they are actually efficient for everyone. And the other thing is, listen to your employees, or like listen to your team, and accept or even expect feedback. It doesn't really matter if it's good or bad. It's just you need to get feedback. And if you don't listen to any feedback, your employees or your entire team will not give you any feedback, because they already know whatever they say, it doesn't really matter. So relationships do matter a lot if you start hiring people.
100%, 100%. And I think it is a bit, you can think from a logical mind, you should listen to the people on the ground and see what people are saying. But you do get those types of people that are kind of my way or the highway. This is the way we've always done it, so this is the way we always must do it. Or we all say so we must be correct. And just very limited in the way of thinking, and absolutely do not want any outside ideas at all, which is of course what we discussed a little bit earlier, is that you have to be able to change. You should be looking at other opportunities. In that case, obviously, like for example, say you had customers coming in all the time, and maybe they looked around and then they left, and then you'd think, well, maybe the decor isn't that great. I don't know if you've ever seen Gordon Ramsay Kitchen Nightmares or something like that, where he basically goes to restaurants and then he like redoes them all up, and you know what, 9 times out of 10 the boss is of someone who's stuck in their ways, doesn't want to listen to the staff. The staff are just there, they're mainly just like students and stuff, they're literally just there to tick over a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't think twice about leaving. But then when you cultivate that environment, because I went to a catering company on, was it Thursday evening, and they do catering for events and stuff like that, and I think they also do, you could just go there and eat, and perhaps, or maybe, I'm not sure, and they had basically a tasting menu for a new staff member that was going to come and cook, and they cooked some really nice Thai food, which I don't work there, but they allowed me to come and try the food as well, and it was really nice. But I could tell in the dynamics of the team how they got along with each other really well. There was jokes getting thrown. There's a lot of, as we call, banter, and a lot of people sort of, pulling each other's legs and stuff like that. And then when you have an environment like that, if you can cultivate an environment like that, people will work there just for that. Because I think as you get older as well, you don't have as many real friends. You don't spend as much time going out and having that social interaction. And then if you can get it at work, then, it's great. And it makes life somewhat somewhat variable in some ways for some people as well,
Yeah.
especially if they are, really actually do not have, say, family in the country or family that they get along with. Then to have that in at work is something that is almost essential for them.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you actually. So you had the personal training job ready before you given your notice.
Hmm.
I was gonna ask, so I take you didn't because what we see a lot is that people basically, there's two ways that people generally go about this. Is that you have the people who are just like cut all our ties, burn all our bridges, and then jump in and we have to make it work. I.e., they have a side hustle that they want to start, and they only start that once they leave their job. Then you see on the other side is people that have a side hustle and they build it while they're working, and then when their side hustle makes enough money,
Yeah.
then they leave.
Yeah.
So, did you have a side hustle before? Well, I know you did, but for the viewers, you had a side hustle, right?
Yes.
Before you left. And how was that side hustle going? Was it enough to keep you going month to month?
Honestly, no. And this is where I think I'm still trying to figure out. And I need to say, so I got confused. I'm not gonna lie. I got confused because my thought patterns, my thinking is you have to burn the bridges. This is just what I internally think you need to get done. For me personally, not for everybody, just for me personally. Because once I get comfortable, and I saw this in a restaurant job, I get comfortable because I get along with other people and then everything becomes so comfortable. If I start my side hustle and I need to cut those things loose, so it's either swim or die, kind of like swim or sink is I think the term,
Swim or sink, yeah.
then you are forced to make it work. And there's no getting comfortable in sinking. Yeah, you cannot tell me that. But but then on the other side, I have like two little Nicklases like next to me on the shoulders and talking to me. And so the other one is just saying, well, why don't you learn a skill while you do this? Why don't you support paying your bills with one job that you learn something from in the same time? And then the side hustle thing kind of matches this entire thing at the top, right at the peak. And then you can just exit your job. Now I'm taking this finally as my second kind of thought that I take serious. So the personal trainer job is something that contributes to the long goal I have. I'm not sharing what the specific goal is, but in general, like in a general retrospect, I am becoming very famous. So in that sense, I need to deal with lots of different kind of customers where I can learn to identify selling points. But it's not something I want to be an online coach that coaches coaches how to be a coach. It's more like a, I guess, non-profit kind of approach I'm trying to achieve in the 20-year kind of plan. But this one helps me to see this and just build kind of, I guess, communication ways, non-verbal communication. So the verbal one is okay, but non-verbal. And for those who don't know what non-verbal means is how to read your body language, how to have your facial expressions, the way how someone is giving you kind of a feeling. It's weird to explain that, but just the
So
aura.
essentially, yeah, being able to, well, there's two parts to it really and I did do some research into body language previously, and it's something that is you continuously can learn from. And there's two parts to it, and really one is understanding your own body language and how that can be portrayed, and two is understanding other people's body language. So if I'm talking to someone about, I don't know, some random topic, say I'm talking to them about guitars and the intricate details of those, and I can tell from their body language whether they're interested or not interested. And obviously, if they're not interested, then I can either keep putting them through that torture, or I can decide that we'll change up the subject if I want them to like me or get along with me. Then you pick on something that they like and see that from their body language.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting, body language, because it's one of those things where you sort of read loads of things and then you read a person in loads of different ways and then you put together the whole picture. But I do encourage people to go and do some research into body language.
Yeah.
And learn how to speak to people as well, because this is an essential skill, and it's something that, yes, you learn in almost any job. And I think in the restaurant you would learn this, customer service and stuff. I've been in customer service jobs as well, or similar sorts of things, and it is essential to be able to talk to people, because if you can't, then how do you even expect to ask someone at Tesco where the milk is or something? Then you're just going to starve and die, right? You have to be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
And make sure not come across like a prick, basically.
Yeah, I think it's less about being a prick per se. No, it's not even that. It's more about, let's get away from survival and put it more into just pursue of happiness, your own happiness as like you, the individual. If you're able to read people, or if you're able to serve people, they're more likely to return a favor. And so what I do now is personal training, right? And we charge between $600 and $4,000. So this is a price tag that you need to be able to explain why this is so valuable to the other person. So it's hard because I relate, or I used to take this price tag in B2B sales of my personal life. So I used to run a territory size that was valued at $1.5 million in revenue, just that I was selling. So I was selling 1.5 million dollars of stuff. And so when I think about this as a person, I'm just like, wow, this dude is spending, I don't know, I had one client, he was spending $120,000 in cleaning chemicals per year. I was like, $120,000? This is not even what I make per year for myself. How can you spend this much money? But my problem was, this was B2B sales. So now this is what I try to get out of this kind of job now, is don't take whatever number you throw out there and reflect this on your own life. Because people spend money in very different ways how you spend the money. So I'm a very bad customer for our economy. I know what I want. This is hardly anything. I know what I need. Hardly anything. Food and water and the place to sleep, and a car because it just broke down. And that's it. Like, I don't buy shoes, or I don't buy a lot of clothing, or I don't buy the newest gadgets or the newest iPhone. I'm a very bad thing for the economy. Very bad. But that also leads to, why would you want to sell something to a person, right? So this personal training is a great example. I do my own research because I cannot trust doctors here. I cannot trust the internet as much, so I need to do really the research and then test those things on myself and just see what works, what doesn't work for me in terms of energy and whatever. And so when I sell the chemicals, for example, or like in the B2B sales, the selling for B2B sales is different than to an individual. And this is now what I try to get out of this job. as a person, like selling to a consumer is much different than it is selling to a company. And I think one of the reasons is a company always looks for profit. That's just what it is. You always want to have profit. You either save money somehow or you make the money. There's nothing else. In B2C sales, or like consumers that you target, there's emotions involved. And this is what I try to learn now. I'm good at reading people, but I cannot identify in terms of selling how I can use this to sell someone.
The emotional intelligence.
My emotional intelligence is good. It's just I need to find a connection between making profit from the emotions. So I can read them and I can be empathetic with them and I can help them. This is why I help my people. Like I'm the general therapist for my friends because I'm good listening to people and give them advice that it's practical, usable, and it's principles that I give them as advice, not what they need to do. It's just a principle and they apply it to themselves and it works. So selling with the emotions attached to it, this is what I try to learn. And this is why it's good for the long run. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it is. You're right. And we do want to continuously improve our skills in general.
Yeah.
People skills are definitely something that is, you say like, you went into personal training and you hadn't done it before, but there's loads of transferable skills that you would have from other jobs or other experiences that you can then feed into that. So, do you have any kind of backup plan? Say that the personal training doesn't work out for whatever reason, and you aren't making enough from your side hustle to sustain your current lifestyle. Do you have any backup plans?
There's no backup plan. It's same principle, burn the bridges again. The thing is now, and this is, I think, I just want to share this with you guys. So my car broke down just 6 days ago, and my gym where I work as a personal trainer is about 30 miles away. So now, because I burned the bridges, I don't have a backup plan. So it's either find a way to find transportation to the gym or die. And it's not the literal sense of dying, but it's the sense of I am now forced to find a solution. And I think this is what's very important to do because at some point you need to cut things loose in order to swim freely. I tried to find a metaphor for this, but it's really hard. But in general, in terms of swimming,
it's one of those things where it's the psychology. So yeah, go on, you go.
Yeah, so I think this is the closest one I could get. Let's say you have an anchor and you have a huge ship, right? And you're at the harbor right now, you're taking off, but you have still the anchor. So let's say your anchor cord or the chain is, I don't know, like 20 miles long or 50 miles long or 100 miles long. So you get at some point, you get out somehow and you're looking to be, like it seems to be you're free, but deep down, the anchor is still attached to the harbor. I don't know if this like makes sense, but in general, you don't see the harbor anymore. You think you're free, but you're not. And once this is cut loose, you actually use all the power you are like have available to you, and you just go, it will feel different. And the only reason I know this is a fact is when I left Germany and moved to the United States. All by myself, no job security. I had just a tiny bit of money saved and I had to make it work. And it felt so much different that just go and have no backup plan.
I think, there is value in, this is what they say, isn't it? when it really is pushed to it, like say in terms of actual physical survival, when it's really pushed to it, you will draw upon insane physical strength. And it's the same thing here, is like when your back is against the wall and there's no other option, you will find a way to make it work,
Yeah.
because it is that survival thing. It's, I'm either going to do something or I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And to get to that point, sometimes, you may have to burn bridges or make no other option available. Did you find that when you handed your notice in, did you find other opportunities come to you?
Yes. And
Isn't that interesting?
that's very interesting because I had to decide to either take a job that promises me 80K a year, plus in addition 50K, so I would make roughly 120K or so. Or I do the fitness personal trainer stuff, which is only promised me 40K and have the opportunity to be up 100K. When I decided to go after the personal trainer opportunity versus the B2B sales again, I wanted to do the personal trainer thing because this is where I think the long run, and I think we talked about this earlier and in some other episode.
What, delayed gratification, essentially?
No, like focusing on the long-term money versus the short-term money.
Oh, yeah.
So this is, in my personal situation, this is exactly what it is. I could make now 120K. Let's say it promised 100K because I'm not a bad salesperson in terms of B2B. But for the long run, I need to learn some skills. I'm aware of some skills I need to practice and learn. And I would not learn those skills if I would be in the B2B sales space. I need to be in B2C. So that's why I took the lower paying job, aka, or like unquote, quote unquote, because there are some skills that are priceless once you have mastered them. There's no price tag because you can make a lot more money with B2C sales as an individual. And this is why I choose personal trainer. Although during that deciding phase, I had really hard time to go away or like walk away from a job that was promising me so much more money. It's not easy. It was definitely not easy. But it's just something where I know my internal values and I know what I need to get done. And this is what I do. I'm not sure if we ever talked about this before. Maybe we can make an episode in the future or so. But I always choose a job that serves me to learn a skill. I never focus on the money. And I'm not quite sure if this is the right way to do or not because I'm not there where I want to be. But for me, it always helped me to learn new skills without paying coaches or whatever, because you learn those skills the hard way in practice. You learn in practice.
Skills almost are an uncapped earner, aren't they?
Yeah.
So if you looked at it, really, I mean, realistically, anyone who had any idea about future planning, they would say they would look at a job that's 10K a year and one that's 20K a year. The 10K a year, you learn a skill, and then maybe in 2 years' time, now you're on 20K a year or 30K a year or 40. The one in 20K a year, you're basically just 20K a year for the rest of the time. Or just, then there's 22 with inflation,
Yeah.
And it really depends on the person. Like, there's people like you and I that we are happy to learn, we want to learn, and there's other people out there that they don't want to learn. And
Yeah.
probably most people listening to this, they do want to learn, and you should continuously improve. If you just then you look back and you realize how far you've really come as a person, really, because it's like I find that, like, I sort of sometimes look at life like a game, and then you upgrade your skills. Like now I can do
Yeah.
accountancy. Now I can play an instrument. Now I can fix a car. Now I can fix bits
Yeah.
around the house.
Yeah.
And you're basically upgrading your character, right?
Yeah.
It's like GTA. First you have no weapon. Now you got a knuckle duster. Now you got a knife. Now you got a gun. Then you get a car. You get a crap car first. Then you get a faster car.
Yeah.
And then you get a small house. Then you get a bigger house. You know, it's the same. It's the same sort of thing. It's like leveling up XP or something.
Yeah.
And it's very much doable. You know.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to play the game and level up on the game, you do it in real life.
Yeah. And it is so true, and I think Andrew Tate, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Andrew Tate, but he also said the same thing. You know, there's so many people playing video games and try to ramp up their character, their skin, their weapons and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then their real life, they're not interested in
It's
it.
just crap.
They're just not interested in actually upgrading.
Because it's obviously easier to press a button and do that.
Yeah, this is what he
than
said.
It is to
to
actually put stuff on the line in your life.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, I've been studying towards something for multiple years. Say, like a doctor studies towards it for 5 years, 7 years, then you specialize. Or even, top scientists that are really researching something for maybe even decades.
Yeah.
And really working towards something that maybe they won't even finish in their lifetime. There is something that if you've never worked towards something and then achieved it or not achieved it, but seen progress in it, there is something in that I think resonates with fundamental human psychology, and that is to say that we are not here on this planet to sit idle.
Yeah.
We are not here to do nothing, basically. We are here to improve. We are here to make yourself, if you start from self-improvement, you actually make the world a better place, because every single person that interacts with you has a good interaction, a positive.
Yeah.
And you must have had this if you are the therapist, because I've had similar situations where I've been an influence on people, and then they've decided, oh, we're not going to spend all their money on drugs, and or we're gonna, we don't need to be drunk in a party or some things like that. They see you and you're not on anything. You're just drinking tap water the whole night.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, maybe it is possible. Or, one person even said to me, he was like, oh, you're good with money. And then, which basically meant that I didn't spend every penny I earned in the pub.
Yeah.
Or on bullshit like cigarettes and clothes and shoes.
Yeah.
And then you pass it on, right? And then they are influenced by you, and then in turn they may go and change the world. I don't know. And they may then, touch other people's souls, and then they then improve, and it's a knock-on effect. So, if anything, you do have a duty to the world to make it a better place, starting from yourself.
I would say so. I think so. Those who are listening, you are already on a good way because you listen to our podcast. But the other thing is just, there's some homework for you guys. If you are looking for growth, right, and you have a job, look around and how comfortable are you at the job. If you're really comfortable, it's time to upgrade. It's either time to upgrade within the organization you're working at, or it's time to upgrade to get a completely new skill, completely new. Outside of the industry you're in for the last 10 years or whatever.
And there's huge benefit to doing that. And you can also have the same job role but more responsibility. And guess what? You might just make a bit more money as well.
Yeah.
And you will find that, look, I've worked in several different industries, and you will find that there are skills that sort of bolster up everything.
Yeah.
So, to give you an example, I worked in a company that was tutoring children. So then you learn patience and how to explain things to a child, how to teach them maths and English. which is huge, right? The skill of teaching is a huge skill that is undervalued, I think.
Yeah.
And then I go to work in a rugby stadium. And then again, I'm speaking to people who are completely drunk, off the wall, and I'm going to have to try and explain to them where the toilet is or something, or where they can go get food. Or, I'm going to have to tell them, sorry, you can't get past this gate, it's only for the players. Or something like that. Or you can't come out here, or, or search a car. I did the searching the cars and do all sorts of stuff in that job, in all sorts of different areas of the stadium. But these sorts of skills, then now you move on, and then you might have to teach, and I have done this before, is have to teach someone who maybe English isn't their first language. And you have to teach them something about tax rules and why they can't claim the pizza that they bought for their family as a business expense, for example. And when you have this sort of thing, then they sort of tie into each other. You see what I mean? You've got that patience, you've got how to teach people, you've got how to talk to people, you've got how to not piss people off, how to diffuse a situation if there's like drunk people trying to argue with you and stuff. That being said, I would never work at a football stadium. That is like the real football, not soccer. But because they're very aggressive and a lot of them are very racist, and I don't think that's worth my time, really.
Yeah.
But to be honest, that's what I'm trying to get across here, is that you can have those skills, and then when you change industry completely, I worked in an optician as well, and then I worked in accountancy, worked in property. When you touch base on all these different things, and then you have also in your personal life, maybe you like to go for walks, maybe you like to do mountain biking, you know how to fix a bike, that's transferable. And when the equipment goes wrong, like say the printer or something, your mind is already in that sort. Your mind already has the skill of problem solving. Although it's to a bike, but that can be put to a car, to anything, to a set of drawers that are broken.
Yeah.
Then you've learned a bit of carpentry skills. The door's sticking. Maybe you can fix that, and then you're leveling up. Yourself, and proving yourself to be invaluable to the people around you. And a versatile. You're like if you imagine you're like a penknife, right? And then if you can, every 6 months or every year or 2 years, you add another tool onto the penknife. You can do something else. And then by the end of your life, the penknife can't even fit in anyone's pocket. It's so big.
I agree, and I think that's gonna be it for today's episode, because I need to get my car problem sorted out. So speaking of problem solving, that's the challenge for this.
We had a little discussion. I know that you're obviously exploring other areas as well, and it's great to see that we don't have tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And we think, there must be only one solution.
Yeah.
But look, let's touch base in a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, and see how you are getting along with your personal training job.
Yeah, I hope.
See how you feel.
I'm pretty confident about it, just because I already kind of lived at the gym because I was going to the gym every single day. Now, not so much because I don't have a car. But it's getting back there. I just need to fix those things, and we'll see.